Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, hey, I have a question for you guys. What would you do if you stopped drinking coffee?
Oh man, I can't even imagine that. You know, I was a late start on coffee too, so I never thought I'd ever be addicted to anything. And I
Right.
think if I were addicted to anything, it's probably coffee. So I probably get headaches every day. I don't
I'd
know.
wind up in jail, I think. I'm
Can you
just
imagine?
saying.
I can't even imagine starting my day without coffee. So
John's
it's
like, yeah, I'm just going to admit it right now. I'm going to be
Yeah,
in jail.
I'd wind up in jail. I'm pretty sure of it. Oh my
Yeah.
God! As a
I
friend of
love
ours,
coffee.
a friend of mine is like he has this thing where humidity. He's got allergies to humidity,
Oh wow.
and I'm like,
does he live here?
He lives in Florida.
And he only drinks iced coffee.
No, he stopped drinking coffee. He goes, didn't realize how much all this stuff affects him because the coffee keeps his adrenaline going and
Yeah.
it kind of backs off. It's it's not allergies to like pollen and stuff like that. It's allergies to the, it's a weird thing.
And I was told I should kind of like switch to decaf if I'm going to continue to drink coffee because I have high blood pressure and that would help with that. But I don't know. Maybe the high blood pressure is
Now
what
see,
helps me get going and
I was
everything.
gonna
I don't
say,
know.
my doctor says like, you can keep drinking coffee. It's actually good for you.
Yeah, that's why I
He
thought.
goes, now, I'm not talking foo-foo drinks like Starbucks and
No,
stuff like
not
that with all the
foo-foo
shit in
coffee.
it. He goes, but coffee itself is actually, he told me you shouldn't be drinking like 4 or 5 pots a day.
Right.
Pots?
I actually have
Well, dude, I'm
one or
I-
two.
me and
That's
Rob,
one or two cups.
I'll swear
that's
to
it.
God, me and Rob have coffee in our cups all day long.
Hmm.
All day long. Not
See.
just in the morning. I mean, all stinking day long. It's not right. And I'm pretty sure that if we didn't have coffee,
I don't
we
think I
would
could
wind up in
sleep
jail.
at night
I
if I
think
did
Rob's
that.
the same way.
Yeah, I don't think I
It's
could
just
sleep.
not right.
You know, I
It's
drink
not right.
I drink coffee up until 7, 8 o'clock at night and still go to sleep.
You know,
Wow,
I'm the same.
Not me. If it's after 3, forget it.
Look,
I can't
look,
sleep. I'm wired.
I'm not a little guy, right? But you know what? I have some of the best blood pressure you would see. I mean, I have blood pressure that just knocks it out of the park. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's my wife too. It's like
You know,
so-
and I can sleep when it's time to go to sleep. If I drink, just like John, you drink a cup of coffee, I feel like drinking a cup of coffee in the middle of the
Right.
night, or a glass of tea. That's it. I'm
Do
just.
you know what
boom.
I cannot drink before I go to bed?
What's that?
Lemonade.
Wow.
Especially Publix lemonade.
What?
No, dude, I'm telling you. So, I have to watch what I'm drinking for dinner because Dylan and I, we eat late, right? So if it's 8 o'clock, I cannot have a normal glass of the Publix lemonade because if I do, I won't sleep.
Wow.
That stuff will
what is it
jack
about?
me.
Yeah, I wonder what it is about the lemonade.
John-
That's weird.
John's like, yeah, my crack is lemonade.
My crack is lemonade. Give me some-
The coffee doesn't do it for me. It's
And I love it,
lemonade.
I love their lemonade. I
Yeah.
love their sweet tea, and I mix
Maybe
it.
it's
We
the
do
sugar.
have
Maybe
it.
it's the
It is
sugar.
the
It's
sugar.
probably.
But normally, so the dentists everywhere in this country are kind of cringe right now. So I go to bed, right? And before I go to bed, I give myself a handful of like either Sour Patch gummies or something that's easy on the stomach, but it can digest.
Sour
But that's-
Patch gummies, and you're talking about easy. I mean, those two words just don't go together.
No.
Easy
Yeah.
on the tummy.
And
Sour
I'll have
Patch
those
Kids.
and then drop like a rock.
Wow,
Interesting.
you're
It's-
weird.
It is
John.
weird, but the Publix lemonade, which is absolutely.
So maybe it's highly caffeinated.
Publix, if you want to become a sponsor, Tech Shamans, you can because I will definitely drink your stuff on there.
You know what? Yeah, next week we just need to bring a gallon of lemonade and just stick it right on the table. Come on, Publix, we got this.
There you go. But yeah, so did you guys tech this weekend?
Well, I had to work, so I guess that qualifies as
Yes,
tech.
you
so
teched.
yeah, I have a file recovery
do?
type of thing going on, and also because of Microsoft's deprecation of something called basic authentication, and now modern authorization or authentication is required. It's affecting certain users. So
Oh boy.
it gave me a long weekend. So there is a solution, of course, but those that have the affected devices aren't always interested in implementing those. So
Well, you know what? It's people don't also understand, like, say, for instance, Apple products. One of the worst.
that's what this is.
And Apple products, for instance, they are driven by when they are made. Apple gives a 5-year timeline. You
Yeah.
have to, if you want to be in the Apple space, you need to upgrade your devices. because you can't, if you need to run a modern operating system, Apple discontinues hardware to be able to support that software. So if you need to run a newer version of software, you need to know what you need to run, and then you need to know what year your Mac is to know what, how much higher you can go on that spectrum.
Right.
And is that going to make you, are
Is
you
that going to put me
able,
on the spectrum now?
is it going to put you on the spectrum? And especially, when it comes to Microsoft, though, on the opposite end, Microsoft is a software company, and their software, they want it to run on every device.
Right, and they're
You know.
also trying to make things more secure. So
Right.
in the case of the older Apple products, yeah, if you're having trouble, if you use Microsoft 365 for your email and everything, and you're having trouble telling you that it's not accepting your username and password, it's probably because of this
Yeah,
change. So
yeah.
this is a very common issue right now. So
Outdated software and outdated hardware, if you're running
Right.
in Apple space, are the two main reasons
Yep.
why you cannot sign into your Outlook.
yeah, on the iPhones and iPads, actually the iPhones iOS 12 or above,
Yeah.
iPads, the iPad OS 13.1 or above, and on the MacBook and the iMac or Mac desktops, you have to have 10.14, OS
Yeah.
10, 10.14 or above. So if you have an older machine and you can't get your email through Microsoft 365, that's most likely the reason.
Yes, and please do not yell at your IT technician.
Yeah.
It is not our responsibility to keep your hardware totally up to date.
I mean, it's not,
And,
what?
we don't purchase you a brand new, 2022 Mac and dump it on your desk so you can go ahead and connect to your email. We can make recommendations if you don't want to take our recommendations.
What do you
These are the
IT guys
situations you-
actually do then, man?
We correct user-created errors.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of funny. Every time we have a problem with something, I don't care what it is, 99% of the time it's OE. Operator error.
Yeah.
Oh, it just
Or-
stopped working. No,
or
it didn't
pep-
just stop working.
We call it a PEBCAC error. That's the problem exists between the monitor and keyboard. Or monitor and chair, actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chair and keyboard, or chair and monitor. Yeah, PEBCAC. Yeah, there we go.
So,
Chair.
you know what I did this weekend, John?
What'd you
What?
do this weekend?
Or John and John.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't
John
get over
squared.
this. John squared. That's what we're going to use from now on.
Not
John
that we're
squared.
square, but
No,
we're
we're
John
not
squared.
square. We're just John squared. No, I worked on my minivan.
What?
2013 Town and Country. I tore that puppy down, removed the oil cooler assembly from underneath the
Dang,
intake
dude.
manifold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, changed that puppy out.
That's a whole
you
other
know.
type of tech.
Did you put
Yeah,
a turbo
tech.
on it?
It kind of looks, as you're tearing it down, it looks like a turbo because,
Yeah.
I got the upper intake, plant them off, the lower intake, and then I had to go even lower than that and remove the oil cooler, which is bolted to the
Oh, yeah.
to the valley of
That's
the
not fun.
engine. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun time. So I got that all set up and car's running again, 219,881 miles and still going
Wow,
strong.
that's incredible.
Dang.
Love
So
it.
I
Drove my
buried
little van.
I buried plants.
I did that last weekend, actually.
We did plants, we did power washing, and then my kitchen got an upgrade.
John was
Yeah.
really hiding bodies and
Well,
putting plants on top of them.
Endangered species.
Endangered.
Protective.
Oh.
That's how you
See,
do that.
I have on my
Oh.
honeydew list, I have some power washing as well, but I did some planting last
Yeah,
weekend.
if you want to hide a body, dig a hole, put it in there, and put a protected plant on it.
Mm.
I can't dig it up once it's rooted.
John's been reading too many spice.
Not that I know
Spy
that
series.
from
I'm not going to touch
experience.
that one.
I just kind of know that. So, speaking of your Microsoft releases, they released an out-of-band updates to fix OneDrive, and it still crashes.
This is a recurrence. It's not the first time. One thing I can say though is that Microsoft eventually gets it right. So, but
Kinda.
yeah, kind of.
Kinda.
When you are trying to push everybody, that's Microsoft that's trying to push everybody to put everything in the cloud. They got to get this stuff right. So this is very disruptive, having bad updates, especially when it comes to your storage, because that's kind of like replacing the My Documents for businesses anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Especially, home users and business users. I mean, especially if you signed in and signed on to the whole, iCloud, OneDrive backup solution where they stored all your documents and things to the cloud.
Mhm.
And then you sign into your computer and all of a sudden your documents and everything just randomly disappear.
Yeah.
Especially if you had them all stored on the cloud versus on the device itself.
Right,
You know?
or as in this case, the OneDrive app would just completely close and,
Hey.
you know, you're trying to save documents and you can't, and you get an error.
Or
So-
your computer slows down to a crawl because it can no longer make that, you know, it's
Right.
kind of like a network connection.
Yeah.
So next thing you know,
Well,
your
it is.
device,
It's through the
yeah,
internet.
your
but it
device
is a network
slows
connection.
slows down to a crawl because you can't, you know, it can no longer find that
Mhm.
network attached storage is technically what it is.
So there is a way to fix that one if you want to be proactive and do it yourself, and that's to get the manual update yourself. And you know, you just have to know which version of Windows you have, because each release of Windows has a number and letter combination like 20H2 or 21H2 or 22H2. So you have to know which one, but if you do a search for this, you can find an article and that'll take you to the appropriate manual update that you can do, so you can get ahead of this, or
And
at least make it work again.
And a lot of the reasons why stuff like this has been happening a lot more through Windows 10 and stuff is because Microsoft used to have an internal testing capabilities, and now they're kind of like they use a pilot program and they let users join their little, you know, their little software development program,
That was
test
part
it
of
out.
that. Were you? Did you get involved in that?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I got involved with that
They
when
should- they
10
need-
was first released. So,
They
yeah.
need to make internal testing back.
Yeah.
Bring it back, because
Right.
you know what? Not everybody's using the same features. You know, not everybody's signed in, and most of the people that are really testing or sign up for it, developer, they just want to see what the next thing is. You know,
Right.
they don't care to. They're not really going to test it. You know, and they're not going to. It's just.
It is such a massive operating system, so when you put all that,
Yeah.
and that, a lot of it does seem.
Wait.
and
You tell me
Winston's-
people unqualified can actually sign up for these programs?
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Oh my
And
God. And you
they'll-
wonder why we're all screwed up half the time.
They'll actually keep track of some of the things that go wrong in the background, but it is possible to get on these programs if you want to. But I mean, anymore with Windows 10 and above, you're actually getting most of your updates pushed out to you automatically. That was one of the ideas to try to get ahead of some of the vulnerabilities, but in some cases they push out bad updates. So something like this, though, because it's so important, you can't wait for some of those. So that's
Right.
why it's a good idea to be a little proactive if
I
you
hate
can.
OneDrive. And without it, you can't even use your system right, which sucks.
Well, it's got some benefits. Like if you want, you can have it keep a copy of all your files that you would have normally on your laptop or desktop
Depends
up
on what
in
kind of files they
OneDrive.
are.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to put everything in there because, like encryption, we were talking a little bit about
Yeah.
that. I brought a little toy.
I cannot wait to talk about this. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, so there's ways to have, because if you do have Windows 10 or above, and you have the Pro or Enterprise version, you can use a built-in encryption program called BitLocker that comes with the OS. But
Okay.
we'll talk about that at the right time.
Right. So, here, and I know I am the video, but I am also the guy that watches. I'm way too into the other crap. And this is coming from Jamie Dimon, David Solomon, and Ray Dalio. And these guys are from like JP Morgan and blah, blah, blah. It says Americans should brace for a cash crunch and a painful recession. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying now. I personally, and I don't know, I know this is not tech, but it's going to be tech because it's going to affect everything. But I don't know why people don't think we're already in a recession, but we're already
Because
in
the
a
White House is
recession.
telling them that we're not, and
Well,
all the experts are saying we are,
He
but
doesn't
the
know
White
what
House.
planet he lives on half the
Yeah.
time, so.
So that's the big problem, is that we don't have a really, I don't want to make this political, but it's not honest. It's not honest right now what the current administration is putting out to the public, and that's a shame, because all the experts, all previous presidents pretty much relied on the experts, and all the experts are saying we have all the indicators in place to say that we are in a recession, and they're saying, oh no, our economy's doing great. Sorry, just ask your neighbor. And what is that saying? Like if your neighbor's hurting economically, it's a recession, but when it hits you,
Yep.
then it becomes a depression, I guess. So,
But here's what happens. So this starts affecting the tech world, and people don't understand that.
Yeah.
We start backing off of moving forward on projects and the whole 9 yards. And next thing you know, we get a recession and nothing. And I'm always the guy. I'm always looking for the new tech, right? What can make my job better? And I don't mean not even just better, but I mean easier. So, we're always looking for product that will allow us, like we're running SMB7s off of wireless that go over here, so I don't have to have cables all over the place. I am a cable guy. I hate cable management. It to me is a big deal. And if I can eliminate cables, I will.
I hear you. I love that too.
So, it kind of takes away from my having the ability to cough and mute, but, whatever.
Yeah.
But, so when this kind of thing starts happening, the tech central side just starts falling back behind.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how all of a sudden cybersecurity becomes even more important.
You bet. And also there's regular hardware life expectancies. Like for cutting edge companies, they're looking at replacing their technology, that's computer technology, usually every 3 years.
Yep.
A max of 5 years. On servers, you're typically looking at 5 year, you might extend it out to 7. So when the economy is impacted and businesses can't buy that hardware, this is something that becomes a real problem, because they're going to become less competitive in the market if their competitors are in a different hardware cycle and just happen to be able to get upgraded before they could. So it definitely affects everything, and cybersecurity absolutely has to be a focus, because if you don't keep up on cybersecurity, your business is at risk. It's at risk anyway, so you definitely have to have money set aside.
Then you got people like Adam, who's got a store on top of the computer repair. Now people aren't coming in and buying. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. Red lights are good. But you get to a point where then now I can't go in and buy that new 4060 that's coming out.
Right.
Or the 5060 or the 6060 or the whatever's coming out. Now I'm like, I'm still running on an old one. It sucks, but money's tight right now. And
Yeah, it's been, believe it or not though, I had somebody just, when was it? Near the end of last week, did come in and have us build a custom system for video editing.
Right.
i9 system.
Right.
32 gigs of RAM.
Nice.
3050.
64 would be better, but
Jeez,
talked him
John,
into that.
come on.
Yeah, the more the better.
More the
Isn't
merrier.
So in the world of video editing, the more RAM that your system can actually use.
No, wait, John, you got it all wrong. In the world of Adobe, the more RAM.
That is about the truth, because I'll tell you what, man, Adobe is just sucking up, and it kicks the system's ass, to be honest with you. If you don't have it, your
minimum 6 gigs of RAM on your video cards, bare minimum that they want. So.
And on top of that, putting together the ultimate editing system, I would have 2. Are the 4060s out now? Or 4080s? Or is it still the 3060s, 3080s?
No, the 40 series are coming out, but there's a lot of people still waiting on them.
Okay.
But the 40 series, I don't think they've really came out exactly yet. But they're still...
my system, if for just editing, would have 2 3060s, TIs. And then you'd have 64 to 128 gigs of RAM. And you have to have multiple drives. You can't have just one drive, because you don't want your asset and writing all going to the same one. So there's 12 terabyte, 12 terabyte, 12 terabyte of secondaries, and then your main hard drive's got to be at least 2 gig.
Oh yeah, and if you want to use cloud backup, if you want to use cloud backup, you better have a good network connection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and your net card's got to be a 10 gig.
Yeah, and that you got to be able to have internet support to be able to handle that that input output, because there's your bottleneck.
Right.
There's going to be a huge.
And that means you have to have a router that can handle it.
Right now.
Yeah.
So you're talking all new hardware
and most consumer grade routers. You're lucky if you get a 2.5 gig uplink
Right.
on that. You
And
know,
then you need
Even
to,
that,
then you
some
need
are
to have a
much lower.
4K input
Oh, that-
card
TP Link.
and
TP
a
Link.
Yeah.
professional audio input card.
Yes.
So everything comes in the way it's supposed to come in.
So we should have a recipe for all this stuff, put it on like a little,
We can do that.
Yeah.
Ultimate video rig.
ultimate video rig. There you
Yeah.
go.
Rob over there's got himself one of those monster Macs that are.
And don't forget, sometimes those monster video rigs are also your monster gaming rig.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, I'm not going to.
We're not going to discuss that.
We're not just-
No.
It's all work, no
I will
play.
not-
I don't
will
have
not
time
agree-
to-
I will,
I don't
was
have
it-
time
I will
to
not
game.
deny, or I don't deny, or whatever. it
I will
is.
not.
I don't know that that's on my systems. I love the trucking driving thing. That's
Well,
to me, that's awesome.
We seen your Steam account on
Yeah,
there.
Steam account. I know. I'm trying to find a nice. I saw this one guy. Not that I'm trying to get off subject here, but this one guy, he does the driving games.
Yeah.
He has built a simulator with, is it 1, 2, 3, 4 monitors,
Was
right?
it the trucking one?
It's a trucking. He's got
Oh, yeah.
he's got the rig. He's got
I
the
seen
actual
that.
shifter.
Oh,
He's got
jeez.
the hanging CB, which is technically a secondary mic into his system, so he can actually talk. And he's got inside that built into it. It's
And you
Taking
got,
four good,
and he's
buddy.
taken like you'll have some of the monitors will be turned in portrait mode.
Yes.
Oh, wow,
And then,
so it looks like
so,
the
so it
windshield.
looks like the mirrors
Oh,
of the
cool.
truck, and you can watch him driving, and it's
Yeah.
like
holy
it's
cow.
so cool.
Yeah, so it can be done, man. It can be done. Anyway, so woo, speaking of could be done and ain't nothing to show for it. So Meta, Facebook, has spent 36 billion building the metaverse, but still has a little show for it, while tech sensations such as iPhone, Xbox, Amazon Echo cost way less. And they have their own virtual reality side.
yeah.
Correct. Well, the reason what he's doing is, and they were talking about this, his true goal is to control the world, the virtual world, and have a complete payment system.
Right.
And login system. So basically, you already have all these people that have Facebook's accounts,
Right.
Meta accounts. So
Meta.
it just makes sense that if he builds a world where that even the Microsoft and everybody might have their own virtual world, but would need one main location to connect to, then all payment processing technically would end up going through him. You can't say, like, look at the ad revenue that he lost when he was on the iOS system. So he built Facebook, but depended on other people's, other people's playgrounds to basically mitigate that money coming in.
Right.
So when they cut him off, they pissed him off. And
No.
now he wants to, just imagine, he'll control all the advertising. He's controlling now the video games.
Right.
Look at the games inside, like Oculus, for instance, how much they are versus like Steam, stuff like that. Now you can still play your Steam games within
Yeah.
the
The
Oculus
yep.
and stuff like that. But just imagine when he owns that whole virtual world, all transactions go through Meta.
Well, he did exactly what Apple's done. Is he's turning into a closed loop system.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well,
but it's closed to a degree because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going to
Well, it's
be
just like Apple. They're
it's gonna-
allowing apps that come in that
Yeah.
that's not. That
But
can
just
be on other-
say people want to sign into a virtual world with their Meta account. Now all transactions can technically go through Meta. Why
Yeah.
not?
Well,
you know?
Zuckerberg's trying to be first to market in some ways on this because he does have a big base of customers.
Mhm.
And
But he
I mean,
took
he ain't
a-
no TikTok, but
No.
No, he lost. They lost 3.7 billion, and the investors behind Meta are they're a little upset. So they're trying to get him to focus more on what made them money before. So they're trying to push him. He's trying to be, ahead of the curve as far as being first to market. We'll just have to watch and see
Right.
what happens because
He already owns
Amazon took
Oculus.
losses for a while,
Yeah.
right? And then eventually turned things around. So I don't know if Zuck is thinking he can
Well,
do pull the same thing off or not.
he owns some of the most advanced 3D capable devices now.
Oh, yeah.
So he
well,
owns
that
the
new
whole
Oculus system, the brand new Oculus system that came out,
Yeah.
or that is coming out, that is a monster,
Yeah.
and it's also $1,600.
Well, it is.
But it is a monster.
It is a monster. But just knowing he already had the hardware, Oculus, he continued development on that. Now he just needs to build that backbone, but he needs to really market it, and that's where he started tying, getting Microsoft, for instance, on board. Say, hey, look, you can do your virtual meetings in here. This is what you can do. And until they really, people really start utilizing it, business, for instance, starts getting on there and bringing their virtual users into, because just look, you can make people come to meetings now, see them, virtually, and know that they're physically working. I think it might be a little easier for
There's
businesses.
also things like enhanced reality. 5 years ago, I remember seeing some of this where you have goggles on and you can see through the goggles everything that's around you, but you get data that comes up related to that store, that restaurant. You can see the reviews and everything. Pretty cool stuff. And then you've got in the movie industry, they're talking about making movies that allows you to be in the movie and follow a certain character, so that you can watch the movie over and over and over again with a different viewpoint, because if you're in it 3D virtual reality, then you can be all around the characters and all that.
Yeah.
So really interesting ideas, and that's I think what's driving.
Bad guy dies, you're sitting there for the whole movie laying there dead on the ground watching.
So it's interesting, and I think that's the draw. So it's that risk reward thing. Is he right? Is Zuckerberg right here? So he actually acknowledged that, we're going to hemorrhage cash for a while. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But
but him hemorrhaging cash and us hemorraging cash.
It's a bad time to do that, right?
Yeah, two different worlds. He can lose $1 billion and it go, okay, I'm okay. So, but because of, I think this is coming because of TikTok. So the tech world, right, the earnings are flopping from Amazon to Meta and Microsoft, and here's the biggest takeaways, right? So it's first of all going into recession. It really is starting to affect everything. Right.
Yeah. Well, if people don't have money to buy anything, and it's going to affect the biggest markets out there, such
Apple
as
didn't drop as bad.
Yeah.
But there's a guy that I follow on social media that it's always him and him, right? He's always arguing with himself, different looks about Windows versus Apple. Why do you have an Apple phone? Blah blah blah. And the guy keeps hitting points, and as he goes back to himself, and then the guy's like, well, yeah, okay, well, because Apple does make up. We have a story in here. There are too many iPads, iPhones, and Apple Watches, and we're not going to jump on that yet, but it's so. The big tech stocks are not doing so well, and then it says weakness in digital advertising. Because here's what happens in a recession. What's the first thing that everybody pulls back? Advertising. Their marketing, and that's the wrong move. If I'm gonna hemorrhage money somewhere, if you want to call it that, then I'm going to put it in my marketing. Because now you have to go big.
Yeah.
It's funny.
When there's less competition, that's not a bad idea, right?
Well, see, here's the thing. So when one of the best times to advertise, which nobody does, is when everybody's making a buttload of money. How many? And we're going to take the real estate world, for instance. The real estate world. Hey, let me help you market your houses. I don't need your help right now, man. I don't need your help right now. I don't need your help right now. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, because it went back to the real world. We went back to the way where a house will sit on the market for 30 and 45 and 60 days. And if you're not marketing that house, now it's marketing.
Yep.
And then, so what do? Instead of going hire a professional, they do it themselves because they've all thought that they're marketing specialists. They're not.
They thought Mark Spain was going to buy their house.
Right, yeah. Open Door, or Open Door, or Red Door, and all these different doors. And they're still running their commercials, which is kind of amazing that they're still buying houses.
A lot of them have closed the door.
Yeah. Mark Spain's not. Mark Spain, he doubled down, babe. Marketing, maybe. Marketing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, now is the time to market your product or your services. Because all these people that are, I sat in a networking group today, and everybody was like, well, I'm asking, what are you doing for marketing? Well, I'm backing off on marketing. Why? If you're gonna make yourself starve to death, now's the time. Make you starve to death on your market, because what's going to happen?
Right.
You won't starve to death anymore, because now you're putting yourself out there, because a lot of people are not.
Well, to grow, you have to market. That's the only only way to keep things in the pipeline. So you got to continually market.
You think McDonald's is not double downing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee they are.
Da-da-da.
Budweiser, they're doing it.
Hey, look at the adult Happy Meals. That was a cool marketing gig.
It was. It was
Anyway,
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially with our generation, you know, be like, Happy Meal for us? Yes.
Damn straight, dude.
Yes.
But it, just,
Nobody wants to buy that kid's Happy Meal.
poor
We
kid.
don't want to be that guy, but if it's
Right.
an adult one now, I'll be that guy.
So let's go to the last week's big news of the week. Elon.
Yeah.
It's
He
done.
cleaned house.
that was hilarious.
Oh,
You know,
but here's the thing. You can't feel sorry for these guys that just got let go, because they're leaving with $1 million packages.
Yeah.
yeah.
Millions and billions for the guy that sold it, the ultimate dude, right? Whatever his name was. I don't even care anymore. But yeah, he went in there. He doesn't even have a CEO or a president right now.
Yeah, and you know what? More power to him. He doesn't need it right now. I mean, look, it's not the greatest acquisition that could have went down. The timing, everything just fell apart.
Right.
It was worth it at one point,
Yeah.
and the economy and everything.
Yeah, I
And,
think
and
you paid too much.
crypto.
Well, see-
crypto was pulling back, and remember, he let Tesla pull. Be people purchasing with crypto. So a lot of that money he had in the bank was
Right.
technically a lot of crypto money that has increased. And when it pulled back, he lost a lot of money, and that's why it wasn't because he was being rude or nothing, but he lost money out of his pocket. He's like, well, you know what, maybe it wasn't such a good idea right now, but it's probably cheaper just to continue the purchase versus getting sued and then having
Well, that's really all it was.
that's where this came in. But he looks like he does have some aspirations for it. It's kind of weird what he may or may not do, but he's got, there's a lot of people thinking out there, like, purchasing stuff, bringing in an official coin,
Right.
virtual, crypto,
Doge.
yeah.
Doge.
I will tell you, Doge has increased. What is it, 100?
It has.
20,
Yeah.
150%.
But
I
ultimately,
made $75 on Saturday.
Oh, it's
So-
at 75 on.
No, I made $75
Oh, okay.
on Saturday,
Right.
but it went
It's
from
still
six
cheap.
cents to it had hit high 18 cents.
Now's the
Oh,
time to
wow.
buy if you're going to buy. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about
I actually
putting
have some
$200
Doge.
in Doge.
You might want to
Some
go look
Doge,
at
but
it.
I bought it way too high, so it's been sitting so low. I've been waiting for it to come back up so I can dump it.
So, but here ultimately what he's trying to build is X. He's been working on a social media app of his own forever, but the coding and programming that's in Twitter is kind of like a part he's been missing. So now that's why he locked all developers out of Twitter, those existing
Yeah.
developers. And he opened it up to his guys because he's trying to build his own, and it's called X.
Well, just think about it. And for like me and John, part 2, the Revenge of John. This is great because think about it. This is a great polling database.
Yes.
Imagine
is.
for every Tesla that's out there, that you had to have information being fed back and forth. This database can handle it because this thing goes
Right.
all day
No,
nonstop.
that's actually a great insight. I think
I've
you got
always
something
when
there.
he was thinking about or even questioning purchasing it, I was like, I was thinking like, what reason would he want
It
for
could be
it?
his customer service platform too, right?
It could be a great customer service platform.
Right.
If
Yeah.
and if you duplicate this software and run it on another server, if it can take this much abuse, just imagine all the cars out there having to call back to the mainframe and being able to ping.
Right.
This thing can take it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And handle it. So many people.
Even though it's never been used, I don't think it's ever been used to its fullest extent,
Oh no.
but it handles a lot.
Yeah.
So with him taking this and turning it into X, which is his own social media app that he wants to build. I forgot
You know-
what there is an app that the Chinese use.
WeChat.
Yeah, WeChat.
WeChat. He loves that.
He loves
does.
that, and
he wants to be like that.
Right.
that's what he was
That's
talking
what he
about.
wants
X is
Yeah.
supposed to be like that, right?
He
Or
said that
TikTok.
U.S. has nothing like that, and you do everything. He says he says they
Everything.
live in WeChat.
Yeah.
Right. But
But
the problem with China, though, is
there's a reason why everybody lives in it, so
Right.
the government can watch them.
well, that's the
Yeah.
thing, because they want to start pushing that social media score.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of TikTok because of that, because they're also collecting data on all of its users, which means everybody here, so.
Guess what? I didn't realize, but guess who owns Vine? And Vine came out before TikTok, and
It did.
everybody was on Vine for a long time, and then it kind of just disappeared. But a lot of the people that are on TikTok or moved across social media channels started off on Vine,
Interesting.
and Vine is owned by Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting to see what
I'm curious.
comes out of this.
I like the fact that he stepped in and said he would restore free speech, which is awesome. We need that. I don't see any reason not to allow that. So I like that stand he's made. And he's always made it known that his main goal in life is to make life better for everyone. So that's really admirable of Elon Musk. I like that he's doing that as well. That's why he fired all the top level, the C levels, top executives, is so that they wouldn't be able to hinder him from that.
So we put in there, I think all these have been mine, so I'm sorry, guys, I've kind of dominated today. There's an article that came out that says there are too many iPads, iPhones, and Apple Watches. And it's gotten kind of confusing.
It is getting confusing for
Because,
people.
so today I have an Apple, I have an iPad 2 mini, 2, right? But then there's another one, but then there's another one on the market that just came out that's lesser than my iPad. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, look at the iPhone.
For instance, I went to look for a watch yesterday, an iPhone watch. There's freaking got to be like 100 different types. I'm like, oh my God, why? All right, no, I'll just go get myself a knockoff one that can link to my phone.
I mean, I understand why they're doing it, because the same frame, the body itself, can contain, the SE model or the Pro model, until you get to the very larger one, which that one's obviously it's too large for all the other guts. But the problem is the marketing for people and their mentality to think about what they're going to buy. They get confused because here you got the iPhone 14, then you got the iPhone 14
Plus. And the
Plus.
Pro.
But then you got the Pro, and then you got the Big Plus that is the same size as the Max Pro,
And
but
Pro.
it doesn't have the same guts. But technically, it's taking the shell of this device or the screens that you've already pre-ordered and already have made, and then using the logic board from the standard 14 and dumping it in there, so you have another product to sell. So if this one doesn't do very good, then all those screens that you purchased are not going to waste. You're just building a couple cheaper ones. You know what I mean? I understand where they're coming from, but the problem is on the consumer.
correct.
If you're not tech knowledgeable,
And a confused mind will not buy.
No.
So, and that's why
that's-
we have this article, right? Is because a confused mind won't buy it. If Steve Jobs was still around, I think he would not allow that if he was still.
Oh,
So,
no.
so to me,
he wouldn't
okay,
allow
so
a pencil.
Why not just make two types of phone, 14, whatever number, right? The big, the little, and have the same guts. And what you pay for is what you get technology-wise. If you want to pay for the biggest, baddest, everything works on the phone, everything. But if you don't want to pay for the big everything, okay, where'd you pay up to? That's your level. That's the level of technology.
Look at the Tesla.
Yeah, good. I was just going to bring that up
Yep,
too.
I was going to look at the Tesla. You pay for the advancements, even though the advancements are already there
It's a
and ready.
software upgrade.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what I'm saying.
It's a software switch.
And
Turn it on, Apple.
Anymore, our hardware can actually be done the same way. I think that's another great example.
Yeah,
Because that's exactly what I was going to say. Why not use the same model that Tesla is using? Give them one hardware platform and then give them enhancement capabilities.
Right.
Which is like the self-driving $12,000 add-on if you want it. But hey,
Right.
you can do it if you want to. Or maybe you want to go a little bit from 0 to 60 a little faster than 4.2 seconds. You want to get down in that what do they call that mode? Ludicrous mode.
Yeah, ludicrous mode.
You can do it in 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds or
Wow.
something like that. It's crazy.
If your brain can handle that.
So it is, you know, I understand it, you know, guys with tech knowledge, we understand it, but, you know, the average consumer, you know, they'll be like, oh, I got my iPhone 7, I want to upgrade, which way should I go, you know?
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that's hurting Apple right now on this whole thing is that there's not huge differences going from 13 to 14, for instance, as far as what the reviews are showing. And it's like, unless you get the Pro or the Max, you know,
You're not
Pro
going
Max,
to.
you're not getting the new processor, you're not getting all the other enhancements that
There's
you
no
would get.
reason- there's no
so a lot of
reason to really
people,
move
a lot of
it
the
up.
reviews are saying, well, you're not really going to get much more, so do you really want to?
And they're saying, well, everybody's going to the Pro. Well, of course they're going to the Pro because that's the only major jump that
Right.
you've created, you know, especially if somebody had already ran the 12.
I'm
or
going to go
13.
with the Max Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the
big
Max
boy.
Pro, got the big
You
boy.
might as well. So let's jump in. What is zero trust and why should I care?
Yeah, zero
Why
trust.
should I care, John? Does it really
Well,
matter?
I already don't have trust, so I have zero trust.
I was going to say, I don't
Yeah.
trust anybody or anything.
Well,
But a
it's,
little bit. I mean, I have a little trust in most people, but not
There's-
all people.
There's an article in Forbes that brings this up, and I thought it was interesting because what is zero trust? That's one of the new buzzwords, especially in cybersecurity right now. And what does that mean? I guess we need to know what it means and why should you care.
Right.
So what does it mean? Zero trust kind of sounds like, you know, what it is. In other words, you do not trust anything to run in your environment, whether that's on your computer or network, so that you lock everything down. Because the number of cyber attacks has increased so greatly that you have to lock things down. So now there's some things like zero trust network access. So in other words, you only allow those that you absolutely positively know. And what that means is there's something called a MAC address, which is assigned to each networking type of device. You can make it so that only a connection from that specific MAC address, which is going to be a single device, is allowed to connect in. So in the old times we had VPNs. VPNs are still being used out there, but that's considered to be a little bit older technology and it's kind of clunky and slow
Right.
too, where there's some zero trust network access and another technology that they're calling SASE, or Secure Access Service Edge, that is a far more secure type of thing where you get an encrypted connection from the endpoint, that's the computer, up to a point of presence type of server. That encrypted connection keeps a very secure connection to that one point, and then they keep in that server to all other endpoints on the internet, and they actually give you faster connections to things like Microsoft 365 or Google Drive or any of the other big cloud type services, Dropbox, Box.net. It'll have, you know, like fast lanes, in other words, like express lanes to those types of services. You actually get better performance, or you can set up the same kind of thing to from a work from home type of worker
Okay.
to the server at the company. And it's far more secure than VPN because you've got an encrypted connection up. It stays in that encrypted layer the whole way across the internet. And then from the server to that, the nearest POP server or point of presence server, it's going to be a secure connection all the way around. It only allows those connections that are approved. In other words, you set these things up. And there's software now that allows you to do it with just a couple of clicks. So it's really cool. It's there's a particular vendor that I really like for this, especially that zero trust network access component. And there's other things like zero trust on applications. So only the approved applications can run on an environment. And it's not as hard as or bad as it seems, but it does prevent people from clicking on things on the internet that starts a service, or they try to install a program. We call that, the shadow network, or the stuff that's not supposed to be run in a business anyway. So for businesses, they want to lock down their environments and only allow the applications that they use in their business. So there's zero trust in regards to that as well. And there's other parts of zero trust, and the article did give you several things about why should you care. Well, it's the future. This is what a lot of things are going to come to, because the number of cyber attacks are not going to go down. So you really, really, really have to look at implementing as many zero trust elements as you can, so that you can basically prevent things from happening by locking down as much as possible. And that's the basic gist of this, is that it's going to become the standard. It's been talked about for a little over 2 years now. Microsoft and Google. Google is actually one of the ones that had some of the first initiatives on Zero Trust, which was pretty good. You actually have pretty good security within a Google Workspace type of platform, because they make sure it's you. You get, two-factor authentication or some type of multi-factor authentication every single time you want to log in, unless you set up something called SAML or single sign-on types of technology, so that you can work more, and then just only when you log off of your computer, like you go on break or something like that, would you have to sign in again. So there's a lot of efforts like that, because truthfully, the attacks are getting worse, and we need to really make things better.
So I'm sitting here watching this right now, right? I'm online, I'm watching, I'm going, okay, that's great and all. How do you get started?
Well, you'll probably have to engage with one of the Zero Trust platforms. I mentioned Google Workspace. Microsoft has a lot of stuff in place as well. Certainly, security experts. My company, we do a lot of Zero Trust security types of services, and it's also some of the things that you see on that 15 ways to protect your business from a cyber attack flyer that we made available. So Zero Trust is here to stay. It may not be called that right away, but it truly is that type of thing, where it's kind of the trust and verify type of thing. You're going to trust certain things, but you're going to verify it. In other words, you're not going to allow bad things. Some Zero Trust even involves, if you connect to a network with a laptop, for instance, a bring your own device, or BYOD, bring your own device type of thing, they'll make sure that you have all the updates, the critical updates and security updates that Microsoft pushes out if it's a Windows type platform, or you're at the correct level of OS on an Apple device, and you have antivirus installed. Otherwise, they won't let you even connect into the network. Ooh. So there's things like that that make sure that you meet all the prerequisites, so that you don't introduce a possibly vulnerable machine on the network, and it's also going to ensure that there's no viruses and things like that.
So if I'm sitting at home watching this, so I call up Adam, who I get all my computers from, and say, hey, I need all this stuff. I need a router, blah, blah, blah. And then after I get all my stuff from Adam and he's taking care of it, then we call you and go, okay, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Can you do because I think you're even offering a
dark web scan.
Dark web scan.
Yeah, I can do it by a single email address, or if you want your domain checked, anybody that mentions this program, send me an email, john@justrightcomputers.com, john@justrightcomputers.com. I don't know if we can get that on the screen, but it's just the word just, right, R-I-G-H-T, computers with an S.com.
Okay. So is this a mix of hardware and software, or is it all software?
Zero Trust is mostly software, but there can be some hardware parts in there. Like, for instance, we have one product we call Control One that's a secure access service edge or SASE type of product. We don't actually, this vendor that provides this doesn't necessarily call it a Zero Trust, or doesn't call it a SASE, but it has all those components in it. And I think the reason that they went away from calling it SASE is just because it does more than that.
Right.
So that one you could do just with software, but they also have what's called a hardware bridge. So if you have work from home workers that need to connect into the server at work, then we need that bridge.
See, now back in the day, when I was smarter and had more brain cells, I would always, in the beginning, for our studio and for my wife's company, I would always put in, this is years ago, I'd put in a hardline firewall router, right? So you really were locked down. I could go in there and tell it where you couldn't go, what you couldn't search for, and I had to be careful, because there was some people coming out with catchy names for their mortgage companies or their real estate, like Badass Realtor. Well, I had the word ass in there, and if you could, emails wouldn't go to it, and you couldn't go to their website. And I'm like, and then my wife would be like, well, why is that word in there? I said, because I can go, and there's other sites out there with the word ass in it that you don't want.
Well, see, for home users, you typically have a router, and they'll sometimes think that's their firewall, but the truth of the matter is that it does something called network address translation, which means that it takes that public, I'm trying not to be too technical here, but an IP address is basically a number address.
It's like your home address.
Yeah, it's like your home address, but it's for your network
Right.
your internet service provider's connection to your router at your home.
Right.
And it'll do something called address translation, which provides you with a public or a private IP address range that is not supposed to be accessible from the World Wide Web or the internet. Problem is that hackers, of course, have found ways to get around that type of technology, and the FBI twice now has warned if you have a router that is not being updated on a regular basis, in other words, daily typically, then you don't have a sufficient firewall capability.
I think also the consumer branded routers, I think they stopped supporting them too quickly. And I think those vendors need to be held accountable for some security updates
Or
too.
just the customers demand it so that they start making it available. And there's a few out there like Asus, for instance, and I think even TP-Link. They have routers that have an internet capability, and this is your question about hardware and software. Hardware, it's hard to get updated because they're either using a firmware update just to update a small portion of the way that device works, but truly the only way you can get really good security on a device is to have it constantly updated. So that means a lot of things are relying on a cloud connection or a cloud-based content filtering system or a cloud-based firewall even. And that's what Control One is, the one I brought up before. Control One is actually doing, it's kind of like a DNS firewall plus content filtering plus secure access surface edge types of things and a whole lot more with real easy interface. So there's a lot to that. It's even a lot to kind of to go over in such a small period of time. But Zero Trust is here to stay. If it's called that, it may not be called that all the time, but it's going to have some pieces in place that's going to prevent just open use of everything, and it's going to require that certain individual computers can connect into these types of resources and others will not be. So we call that network segmentation even in some cases. Well, you can do it with software now too. So
Which you just said that we could do it with software too, right? And I just saw an article that just came out too, where Hacking Group is abusing antivirus software to load info malware into it. So into the zip file, say for instance, they were talking about Kaspersky, which is not one of the ones we would be normally installing.
Right.
But just for proof of concept and what's happening and what they've been finding is that the malware is loaded into the zip file, and it's a legitimate zip file for downloading the software package. You start installing, and as it's installing your antivirus, that security key that's tied to the antivirus telling it that it's a safe product and everything's good, is also the same one that's
giving a backdoor
to the malware. The malware's installing, and because it was installed with that, those credentials, that signed certificate saying, hey, yes, it was safe.
Right.
A lot of other products, antivirus products, are not detecting it because it's
the
now
Solar Winds hack is exactly what happened there. It was basically put out through their hardware and software, and it was spread across corporations, enterprises, everywhere. Everybody that had these network devices in place, they were all impacted by that.
So,
Recent one, there was another one that just had it happen, and it was one of those type where if you use this, and even hard drives that were manufactured in Taiwan had firmware in them that had a back door. So, it's sometimes this stuff isn't discovered until later, especially when it's embedded in firmware or in the case like you brought up where, they put it in a trusted software as an update and then they get control of an entire environment.
Self-extracting file, RAR file that's, not only unpacks itself but also starts installing and everything installs along with it. You wouldn't even know, none the wiser as a consumer. Or, well, just think about it. If you have a security stack, and that security stack was updated with a malware protection, antivirus, or anything like that you resold, for instance, you could have, you could accidentally, push this to a client, So these are.
Let's talk about this.
I was just going to say, one way you can actually help protect your files, because we talked about having encryption, and you want to have encryption in a variety of places, and even though you get BitLocker with Windows 10 Pro and above, and Windows 11 also, or enterprise level Windows, you do get complete encryption of the drive. However, you still want to have your personal files, anything that's important to you, in a private type of vault, a secure storage vault. And this is one example of this. I just got this, and I'm going to be testing it out from this vendor to see if you might even want to look at the Apricorn. But anyways, it's just a solid or a drive inside here that has these buttons on it, so that you can put the encryption or the password right on here. They also have it in a thumb drive version of it as well. But there's also a freebie one. This is I think I mentioned it before. If not, I'll tell you again. It's called VeriCrypt. Free program. You can create your own secure vault and keep all the most important things in that secure vault. Now, the one caveat to this, if it's open and you get breached or hacked, they have access to it. So you only open up that vault when you're accessing that important data. So anything that includes personal information about you, social security number, driver's license, credit card numbers, any of your account numbers or health information, all that you would want to put in there. But you can do it both software and hardware. And if you have it on hardware, this is actually possibly a good choice, the Apricorn. And you can get it through the people that are offering it for sale. I'm considering offering it for sale, and I don't know if you want to consider it also.
Can you find it on Amazon?
I don't think, if you do, it's probably not the real deal. It's probably a Chinese version of it, and they put firmware in there to be able to backdoor you.
Backdoor you, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, look, thanks for watching, everybody, today. Wow, we went quick.
Yeah.
Felt like I had to.
We only got a quarter. We only got a quarter of our stuff. That's gonna make. Well, I
thought we did
crap
pretty
in
good.
But we got more.
We got way more.
Yep.
So stick around. See you guys next
Bye.
week. Have a
See
take
you.
week.
Bye.
Bye bye.